More lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It is Tuesday, August the 27th, 2024. This is program number 1236 of the Lunchroom, and I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, in addition to radio on 101.1 FM, you can also get us at our website. It is rcistlucia.com. And don't forget, you can download all our previous shows. If you've missed them on that platform, they are in MP3 format for download. And as well, you can follow us live on Facebook. You just have to search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And of course, please be sure to like and share that link as well with your friends and family. If you want to call in to make a contribution to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. That's our direct line. And you can also reach us on WhatsApp. And that is 724-0008. You just have to save that number in your contacts, RCI WhatsApp, and you will be able to make a contribution. You can either message in or call in to that WhatsApp number. Again, it's 724-0008. Now, we don't have any birthday wishes for today as yet, but August the 17th would have been the birthday of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we're going to be speaking in just a bit to a member of the Foundation for the Improvement of Rastafari, FIRE. He is Mr. Lucius Doxery, about his contribution, Marcus Garvey, that is, to Pan-Africanism in today's context. We are also, of course, in the week of La Wars, and we're going to be getting an update from the Cultural Development Foundation as they are counting down to this coming Friday, Fête La Wars, which of course is happening here in St. Lucia, is one of the traditional flower festivals. And we're going to be getting an update from them a little while later in the program. And I know it's a lot of catch up because we missed a couple of shows, unfortunately. But we're also going to have to try to get an update from the communications director of the St. Lucia Labour Party on the just concluded Walk of Progress over the weekend. So we'll get an update from Senator Lisa Jawahi. Probably towards the end of the program, she'll probably call in to tell us how things went there. But we now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We are so glad, gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses, Jugozi Lanes, and Flag Street in Viewfort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom. It's good to be back, and we thank you for following us here at RCI and Radio Caribbean International. Now, for our dish of the day, we're going to focus a little bit on Pan-Africanism and to see where we are at. August the 17th, 1887 was the birth date of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, born in Jamaica, spent his life all around the African diaspora, certainly in the Western Hemisphere, promoting this ideal of Pan-Africanism, and even to Europe as well. And certainly he made a sterling contribution to this awareness, which I think is coming full circle in this 21st century, as we are seeing the 21st century as the century of Africa for so many different reasons. And of course, to share with us this ideal of Pan-Africanism as we begin the week's program, Mr. Lucius Doxery Sr., a member of the Foundation for the Improvement of Rastafari. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Alex. I want to say hello to your listening public. Clearly, you're correct. It's about an ideal. And in the context of Pan Africanism, we need to look at not just Marcus Garvey's contribution at the time that he lived, but what is, and that is the key question, and that is the key thing to review. What is the impact, the lasting
Mm.
impact that Marcus Garvey had based on his philosophy and based on his teachings? As you said, Marcus Garvey was born in 1887 and then he died on June 10, 1940. He lived for just 53 years. That is relatively young by any standards. But what did he achieve? Quite some. Now, we live in an age of technology where by the click of a mouse, people can get a lot of information on Marcus Garvey if they so desire. So my focus here today will not necessarily be on lots of dates but to speak to that lasting legacy of Marcus Garvey. Now, what did Marcus Garvey want? What was he preaching? What was he teaching? What was he philosophizing?
Mm.
Essentially, what Marcus Garvey was saying to us as a race, that we need to look into ourselves and we need to stand for ourselves and we need not subscribe to the idiosyncrasies of other races per se. Yes, we had to unite. We lived in an interdependent world, so we had to work together, but we had essentially to look after ourselves. There is this saying that goes, charity begins at home, and essentially that is what Marcus Garvey was preaching. Let us look to ourselves specifically because we were trodden on people. We had just come from, in fact, you could still say technically that we are still enslaved, but in the real pragmatic era of slavery, it was different, but we had just come out of that. But there was still racism to a great extent. It still exists even as we speak. And so Marcus Garvey was saying, given our history and given what we are currently facing, we need to turn to ourselves.
In fact, he was born in the decade, the 1880s. That was, for those of you who are familiar with their history, the heights of the Victorian era, British imperialism, but also the scramble for Africa, as it was termed.
Correct.
Europe literally looking towards colonizing Africa. And this was not something that happened far. He was born in that era of the Berlin Conference,
Correct.
which said, hey, let's divide up this entire continent, albeit with millions and millions of people in that continent, for ourselves. And in a way, he came in as a response to that.
Correct. And that is what, is kind of troubling. When I speak to these issues, I get kind of emotional to a certain extent because centuries later, given our history, given the Berlin Conference, 1884, 1885,
Mhm.
thereabout, we are still entrapped in this mental condition, in this mental slavery, if you will, that disallows us from even researching our very history. We are divided, as Malcolm X would say, by religion in a great way. And Malcolm X would suggest, put your religion aside, right? Because it's divisive. And it was designed to be divisive. Religion is as divisive as is politics, perhaps even more so, right? Because for the most part, you might have in a country two political parties. But in this very country, you have about 40, 40, 50 religions. So it is even more divisive. So we, as there's, and I'm going to leave some names here. I know we don't have the whole show. There are other people to come on. So I want people to do some research. The idea is to do some research today. So there are people like Dr. Ashra, Ashra Kwesi, Kwesi. Go research him. And he says, and I'm paraphrasing, that it is stupendous, and as he said lightly, that we are still entrapped in our enemies, thinking, in
Mhm.
that we still regard them our enemies, those who colonize us and presented us with their version of a God. We are still following this up to now. And it shows how difficult it is to get out of the indoctrination. It's really amazing. So Marcus Garvey wants us to rethink, to reevaluate, to re-engineer our lives, to re-engineer our thinking, to not to placed before us self-imposed hurdles that disallows us from making discoveries, going on a journey of discovery to discover who we are.
Now, as you mentioned, of course, I mean, he lived from 1880s to 1940. This is, he didn't even see the end of the World War II,
Right.
and the creation of the United Nations and a lot of these new systems that we've had, the World Bank and the IMF and Bretton Woods, and a lot of these changes. I mean, he was in that era, but one can say in a very interesting way, amazingly forward thinking in some of the initiatives that he actually looked towards achieving. And we can speak about Pan-Africanism, but his idea about setting up his own line to be able to shipping line to be able to move goods and people. I mean, was really, really forward thinking when you think about it, to be able to control those aspects, because he understood that at that time that was how people and goods and everything moved on the seas.
And remember, his middle name is Mosiah, all right? And it can be translated to mean Moses, to lead a people. So even by naming him Mosiah, we say as a people, as Rasta people, as divine. Because what we have noticed, and that is some of the things that we find difficult to impart to people. We say, and that's when Rastafari came on the scene, and we said that God is black. And that was an affront to many people. And many of our own people up to today can't accept that, what I call fact. Now, of course, people will say, well, there are people of this dispensation and this dispensation and this race. Granted. But there was a beginning, right? And the beginning points to where creation began. So back to Marcus Garvey and his foresight. Like Bob Marley, we say these are divine people. Like Moses, go and lead my people because they're in a quandary at this time of their lives. And I want you. So Marcus Garvey and of Bob Marley, we say the same as well. Bob Marley lived for just 35 years. That is pretty young. And what he was able to churn out, what he was able to teach, what he was able to preach, the number of people he was able to capture is amazing. This is not human. This is beyond human. So we say that of Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. and the rest and the rest. These are people divine, sent by the Most High Himself to teach His people who have been set captive for many years, for hundreds of years. So I am appealing here in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, which is going a long way. So many decades later, what has happened as a result of the foundation laid by Marcus Garvey and His Imperial Majesty and so on? Currently, I refer to this age as the age of the Enlightenment, where an awful lot of information is being put out there, both by people of all races, pointing to the contributions of us as a race to the globe. In fact, and I not challenge, but I am appealing to those persons who are listening to just, you have a computer, you have a phone, you use it daily, just Google black inventions. Nearly every invention, the computer, the phone, you name it, the comb, you name it, had the hands of black people written, the fingerprints of black people all over it. So in essence, Garvey was saying, appreciate your own. Now notice, it is not about differentiating between races. It is not about any sort of racism. Our history has been hidden and rewritten for us. There are texts, for example, called The Miseducation of the Negro. We have been miseducated for centuries. So all Marcus Garvey was saying, and the likes of Marcus Garvey, is re-educate yourself. Those people who colonize you are certainly and certainly up to date will not be in your interest. So you have to do your own research about your own history. What they would have taught you by far would not have been what you really need to know. It would have been to keep you where you are. And you spoke about Bretton Woods, established in 1958, and the both of the IMF and the World Bank. Up to today, we have the World Bank and the IMF. And what it has done for us as a people, it has just entrapped us for the most part. And few people can see beyond. And I always say the real story is the backstory. And the other phrase is follow the money. So we need now more than ever. And it is happening because you have the Exim Bank, the African Export Import Bank. You have the likes of people and folks, as I said, the discussion is going to be not so very long, it's not infinite. And I want you to Google Dr. Arikana Shiombori, Arikana These are the freedom fighters of today. These are the people who have taken the baton from the Marcus Garveys, the Imperial Majesties, and are now leading the fight in a very forceful and highly passionate and emotional way. They know what has happened to us as a people, and we now need to reconstruct our thinking from the religions that we have adopted, which have actually enchained us more than anything else.
But you speak of, I mean, of course, Marcus Garvey, but coming back to the whole issue of Pan Africanism, though, I mean, getting down to the brass tacks of the reality that you have Africa, which is, of course, the center of the population, so to speak, of people of African descent. Obviously, they're from Africa, over 1 billion people, and then you have largely the people of the Americas. And the Caribbean is only a very small drop in the bucket, at least in terms of the English-speaking Caribbean. 5 million people. But then beyond that, of course, then looking into North America and looking into South America, that effort as of now, in terms of the kind of organization that people like Marcus Garvey were trying to bring forward, to bring all of these peoples, so to speak, within a sort of a network. I'm not sure that we're seeing that really. It doesn't really exist. I mean, these guys were having conferences back in 1900,
Yeah.
And with representation from all different parts of the world. But we're not. Are we really seeing that? Though?
Well, the answer is
Where
yes.
do you get that?
The answer is yes. And whilst Marcus Garvey even touched, because there was a UNIA branch, United Negro Improvement Association branch, right here in St. Lucia. And I can remember whilst working for the GIS, I interviewed two gentlemen who had been part of that group, right? But yes, it's happening. It's happening through the African Diaspora Development Institute, ADDI. And I mentioned Shiumbori earlier on, and she is a lead in that regard. And all of the areas that you mentioned, there are chapters all over there.
I mean, it's a different time too, because
Yeah.
you've now seen the rise of independent states. I mean, Africa is now 54 independent states. Caribbean is 15. You have a number of these other states, and we can say that these are the majority African states in terms of the political control and what have you. But in the rest of the world, though, you don't have that kind of situation afoot. How is the effort in terms of that? How do you see that going? In places where African people are in a minority.
Well, actually, that's why I said about the ADDI. It actually has chapters in Latin America, in Central America, throughout the world, actually. So, and anybody can become a member. You go Google African ADDI or African Diaspora Development Institute, and you can sign up right there and then. So it is, in fact, a global network, right? And a lot of things are happening. They've had conferences, for example, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Motley, right? She has been part and parcel of discussions pertaining to the ADI. That is where also part of the African Export Import Bank and so on. In St. Lucia, recently, I guess we got a loan either as the Caribbean or as St. Lucia specifically from the Afri Export Import Bank. So yes, this is happening. And so you have, for example, the meeting of minds to include sitting along the same table the siblings of Marcus Garvey, alongside the heirs of His Imperial Majesty, and all of these other people who are in the forefront. So a lot of things are happening on the ground, but a lot of us are not aware of it. And that is why I am, again, not challenging, but suggesting humbly that we take a look at, and in a day.
But is there a strategy?
There
I mean,
is.
because and the reason I'm asking is that you're responding to a strategy. You're responding to an age-old strategy. Even when you look at the Berlin conference, that was a strategy. That was a meeting of minds to come together. This is what we're going to do. What is the strategy, though, when you speak of Pan-Africanism?
The strategy is a rich and definite one. And that's why I say it's encapsulated within the terms and conditions, as you would the regulations of the ADDI. And again, I'm suggesting hopefully you will take a look at it at some point, during the course of your day or some other time. And those who are listening to, I'm suggesting that they do that because it is very strategic. It is very strategy oriented. It is a la the philosophies of Marcus Garvey. Is
But to achieve those things, though, I imagine you've got to work through governments. You've got to work through agencies that are existing out there to be able to somehow create this sort of mass center of gravity towards such a movement towards Pan Africanism.
it,
I'm not sure if.
it is because by the way, we have an ADDI chapter in Saint Lucia.
Mhm.
Here we do have.
Yes. I think we actually met with Mr. Kofi Devore and
Right.
Ms. Valmore, and yes, and so I do know that there is a chapter,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, though. I mean, yes, there may be chapters, but what is this vision, this long term vision of what you're really trying to achieve?
Well, it is basically the very vision of Marcus Garvey. It is a continuation of that legacy, and it's documented. It's in black and white, and a lot of things are happening on a daily basis. There was this big meeting in Zimbabwe. I think it was sometime last year, and subject to correction, we might have had a delegation or at least a delegate from St. Lucia. There are lots of virtual meetings in the age of technology being held. So it's a very active organization, very, very, very active organization. And hopefully you'll get a chance to look at it and then um, see for yourself what it is doing, right? I want to say to our listeners, we need to unchain, give ourselves some leeway to think otherwise, not bottle ourselves into what we have been taught by people who, I mean, imagine this for a minute, Calix, that you are somewhere with somebody who's oppressing you daily, torturing you, torturing you, and doing lots of horrible things to you and your family.
Mhm.
And this same set of people turn around and tell you there is a God and their God is your God, but they're torturing you notwithstanding by the
But
minute.
is that part of the challenge, though, for the movement, though, that you're trying to pack quite a lot of different aspects within one movement, and I mean, let's say, for instance, for argument's sake, you could be Jewish and the state of Israel is for you, or you don't even have to be a practicing Judo. You could just be, show some sort of DNA proof, and you have rights to migrate to the state of Israel, whether or not you believe in Judaism as a practicing sense. For a lot of people, though, is that part of the challenge? That there's the religious aspect, there's the cultural aspect, there's the economic aspect in taking on this movement of Pan Africanism. Does one have to take on wholesale all the various aspects?
Well, not necessarily because it's not essential. And then speaking about that too, to answer your question sort of in a different way, to turn it around a bit, there was a Millennium Development Goals now transformed into the Sustainable Development Goals or Agenda 2030. In Africa, as we speak, there's what you call Agenda 2063. This is it is homegrown.
And the reason why I'm also raising this matter, because when one looks at Africa right now from a religious perspective, very, very divided. A north that is Islamic, a south that is largely Christian, a lot of traditional beliefs still present in that mix. And so, that aspect of it, I'm not sure in terms of how you reach into people regarding the religious aspects.
Well, as I mentioned, I quoted Malcolm X a while ago. I paraphrased Malcolm X when he said, put aside your religion because religion is divisive in the main, right? But the Agenda 2063 embraces every aspect of development, culture, economics, everything else. That's something else I would hope the listeners would research. the African Agenda 2063. In other words, what I'm saying is, and it's homegrown, and it's all in the spirit of Pan-Africanism. It's following the very trend and footsteps of Marcus Garvey. So there's a very rich and vibrant movement internationally, Pan-African movement. Like I told you, I've seen my very eyes siblings of Marcus Garvey alongside heirs of Selassie. Lots of things are happening in the spirit and in the context of Pan-Africanism.
Well, I'm very glad that fire is around to keep that flame burning for us and to keep us updated as to what is happening in terms of this this grassroots Pan-African movement as we have it. But we're going to have to, unfortunately, take an end here or cease our conversation until another day because, of course, we're going to have to divide the show up into many parts.
Yeah, just my final words is we need not wait, and I hope that we get the opportunity to come speak with you and to provide information to our people as to what's happening internationally as it pertains to Pan-Africanism, and not necessarily wait for the birthday of Marcus Garvey or Bob Marley. I think it's an ongoing thing, and hopefully we could get another opportunity to speak with you and to present the developments to the people of this country and further afield.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. And we're speaking to a member of FIRE, Foundation for the Improvement of Rastafari. He is Mr. Lucius Doxery Sr. And thank you so very much for sharing with us, of course, and the memory, of course, of Marcus Garvey, his birthday being this month.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, all the best then. Take care. Right. And that's our dish of the day. When we come back, we're going to head into our weather report and then come to take in Fetla Wars, which is happening this Friday.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We are so glad, gasway and vanity. Box, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jugozi Lakes, and Flag Street in Viewfort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige, and gray tiles with these tile stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me, please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my #1 store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous tiles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewfort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And also, of course, on the 1.1, it's now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours, the winds will be blowing from between the east, northeast, and east near 14 miles per hour or 22 kilometers per hour, becoming lighter or variable at times. The weather fair to occasionally cloudy with a few showers at first, becoming partly cloudy to cloudy with some scattered showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms from late tonight into tomorrow. The forecast for Los Angeles, partly cloudy to cloudy with some scattered showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms. And the tropical weather outlook, moisture and instability in the lower atmosphere will continue to produce occasional cloudiness with scattered showers and possibly isolated thunderstorms over the southern portion of the region, mainly during the first half of the forecast period. A tropical wave over the western tropical Atlantic is moving westward near 15 miles per hour or 24 kilometers per hour. This wave is expected to begin affecting our region from tonight. Another tropical wave over the eastern tropical Atlantic is moving westward near 9 miles per hour or 15 kilometers per hour. Also, an area of low pressure is expected to form over the tropical Atlantic in a few days. Some slow development of this system is possibly during the next 7 days. As it moves westward to, I'm going to read this over. An area of low pressure is expected to form over the central tropical Atlantic in a few days. Some slow development of this system is possible during the next 7 days as it moves westward to west northwest near 15 miles per hour or 20 kilometers per hour. And this is your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Telemba.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige, and gray tiles with the style stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me, please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my number one store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
And welcome back to our program here at Radio Caribbean International at the Lunchroom. And we've got about 24 minutes to go before the hour of 2 o'clock. And happening this week, as we mentioned, it's actually on Friday, Fête La Rose, the Rose Flower Festival. It is one of two, I would say, traditional, maybe not even just traditional, but certainly very important cultural festivals here in St. Lucia. And as is customary, the Feast of St. Rose de Lima being celebrated on August the 30th. And to tell us all about what's going to be happening on that day and the lead up to that day, I'm so very pleased that to have two representatives of the Cultural Development Foundation, the Media and Communications head over there, Ryan Germain, as well as Yanet James. Many of you don't know her by that name, but you may know her by Oshun, which is her stage moniker, and she's the Creative Industries Assistant with the CDF, Ministry of Tourism, Culture, and the Creative Industries and Information and Broadcasting. And thank you, lady, gentlemen, for joining us here today as we head towards Fête La Rose.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here on RCI as usual with Calix. And of course, I have a guest, a friend, a colleague, collaborations the CDF is making with, of course, its sister entities and its parent ministry. So Creative Industries is our next best, you say cousin, you say, like, right? So we are now enjoying or preparing for La Rose, the Fête of Rose de Lima, which is on Friday. Minor Basilica, Streets of Castries, Derrick Orchard Square is going to be a goffet. It's going to be
a lot of people are very
great.
excited about the fact that it's actually coming to the city, to the capital, and that they, be able to actually just leave work and go to this. So, I mean, I know last year, of course, it was in Grosley, and that was very well attended as well. And it goes all over the island, but this time it's coming to Castries.
Yeah, I believe that, through the stakeholder engagement we had in the previous months, we're talking about far back as the end of May to June, and then coming up to this week. We had one this morning with the La Rose groups to just finalize some details. Okay, and of course, with our stakeholders at the Minor Basilica, we had those things happening just this morning. I think it's something that a lot of people are interested in, and they feel appreciative of this in Ocean culture. I know there are unfortunately maybe the others on the spectrum that'll be like, oh, why are we bringing back to cast trees? But this is what the community groups would like to be in cast trees in the capital, and I think it lends itself right now to a lot more positives, which is logistics planning for one, foot traffic because it's just the day before school, the last working day before school reopens next week. So people in the city will actually get to experience La Rose if it's just a little bit of you wearing red, like we wearing red right now, okay? Or you just hearing that music coming from the church, or you hearing the music coming from the streets of Castries or the Derek Walker Square. So
Indeed. Now, a lot of people over the years perhaps were not really adherents to these flower festivals, thought of them, as old fashioned. And then, of course, you have something like Oshun, who's younger than both of us, all of us here in the room. She's not gonna, she's not gonna tell us her age because it's rude to ask a lady her age, but she's pretty young and is, well, I guess you could say an adherent of the flower festivals and has been a participant and a cultural ambassador. How did that all begin? Where is that passion coming from, Oshun?
To be quite honest, I'm really not sure. Um, in my family, it's not like it's something my direct or immediate family, my mom, my dad, so I think it's probably what I told them the last time, something more like ancestral memory.
Mm.
Almost like you've chosen to
Somewhere in your DNA.
yeah, you chosen to probably work in something, carry it along to a place, where probably our ancestors wanted it to be and it's not there. And so I see myself and other young people involved in the flower festival, um, as you rightfully said, as ambassadors. Leading to the festival with the creative industries, we've done a Larus Drive for the public service to allow for some sensitization and education and bringing it closer to the people. I think part of the problem is that many people don't understand what the flower festival is and they have not experienced it. So that was a start in doing that, giving them that experience. Last week we went to a few of the private sectors, the banks and so on. And so you could see the appreciation. St.
I think there were
Lucia's,
some videos of the Prime Minister
yeah,
jamming, so you all went to
yeah.
some ministries as well.
Yes, yes. So you could see the appreciation. And Saturday we had a grand sales at Monrepo. We had about 6 groups in
And that's your
attendance.
hometown?
Yes, and it was quite successful. Apart from the groups being there, many people came just to witness, just to see, and the feeling, the energy, like Ryan. It was amazing,
Now speak to that though,
electrifying.
because the seance, the importance of the seance, the importance of these events leading up to the feast itself.
Yeah, so what you find, some people think La Rose is just the celebration. La Rose is a society, more like an association. So
Mm-hmm.
what you find groups are supposed to be doing is finding ways to generate revenue for the sustenance of the group and also to aid if a member is sick. So what you find, we collect monthly dues
Mm-hmm.
at the CS. The CSCs are basically a fundraiser
Fundraiser.
and a way we mock those who enslaved us, basically, the systems. Because
Mm-hmm.
what people don't understand, La Rose and La Marguerite, they are one of the first forms of emancipation being celebrated. And people don't even recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, why are you just dancing around the flower? It's a lot more than that. It's us taking what is European and infusing our African heritage in it and saying,
And almost making a comedy of it in
yeah,
very many
exactly.
ways. Eh?
So,
Yeah.
and up to this day, I think that's why it's still significant.
Mm-hmm.
Even that you understand that that it is an emancipation celebration, really.
Mm-hmm.
So it fits well within the time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that you say, of course, it wasn't in your direct line. Your mother didn't do it, your father didn't do it. I mean, I have a very far connection. I know my great grandmother. Her name was Margaret, and they used to have the seances at her house, apparently up in Bocage. So, I mean, you hear about these things, but it's again, something that has been lost along
Yeah,
the way.
yeah,
And I know the Cultural Development Foundation and Creative Industries, you guys are trying very hard, especially in the schools, to be able
yeah, yeah.
to
You
bring it back.
you mentioned the schools and something that just happened last week, before the end of our Youth Summer Arts platform,
Hmm.
that Oshun brought the Monrepo Laros group to meet the kids when they were
Okay.
just preparing their last production. That was the last week
Okay.
Friday.
Right.
And they got the opportunity to hear the songs, and they got the opportunity to actually to interact within the dances and the
Hmm.
singing.
Hmm.
So it's something that is very important to the Cultural Development Foundation and to creative industries, because it hits number of spectrums there. One, cultural transmission, cultural heritage. Okay, she spoke about that support that individuals got during the time of being enslaved. That is important. That needs to continue. Okay, the Flower Society is being more than 100 years old, 150 years old. That is important to Saint Lucia. Even the aspect of, she mentioned the community. The community works together to achieve a goal. We're talking about community tourism here already. So there are a number of facets that this Flower Society, or the celebration of Flower Societies in St. Lucia, brings to St. Lucia. It doesn't only bring the aspect of community spirit, the community support, but it also brings about cultural transmission. And of course, is it possible that St. Lucians, through the, this is the question now I think we St. Lucians supposed to be asking ourselves
Hmm.
and seeing how we can maybe bring this to the next horizon. Is it possible for us to find some economic value through our culture, not changing our culture for the
Hmm.
individuals overseas, but
Hmm.
packaging it
Hmm.
so it is welcomed, it is appreciated by everyone, St. Lucians and those outside.
And the historicity of it is really important, as you're mentioning, because in fact, I think, well, Henry Breen, who wrote about St. Lucia back in 1844, right, which is 180 years
Wow.
ago, was already describing the Lawas and the La Marguerite, and he was describing it as a sort of an ancient
Mhm.
rivalry of groups, and nobody knows when it even started. So by 1844, already it was an old thing which was happening in the
Yeah,
society, and
yeah,
so this is one of our oldest cultural forms, older than carnival, older than
yeah.
a lot of things that we actually have been doing as a people.
It's indigenous to us, so I think that too we should really sit and ponder on it. Like something indigenous to us means that it's the fabric of our being, no matter how much we run away from it. And you ask the question, question, but why that? You know, as a young person, you don't see many young people, and that's why I say it has to live on. If it was some like there are certain things they probably you don't hear about them again, but this one they actually have to continue, and that's why even if it's 5, 10, 15, 20 people upon a time,
Mm-hmm.
they're given that push, that drive, that passion to keep it going.
You mentioned, of course, I mean, getting people their first Laos experience, and that's something because a lot of people they hear about it, but they've never
Mhm.
been, and that's something that, and when they actually go, they realize, but this is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah, yeah.
it's a
No,
good
no.
time, and you know, in fact, my wife was saying that, you know, when she was in the UK, I think Oshun happened to be there, and
Mm.
she had never been to Laos all her life, and then in London, she ends up going to a Laos festival event,
Uh,
and had a wonderful time
No,
there.
well, I could tell you as someone that's never been to a seance, when I went to the one Monrepo on Saturday night,
Hmm.
that was like, wow, okay, all right, this is different. This is different.
Hmm.
The energy of the people, and I saw a balance of the young people that are in their late 20s, early 30s. I even saw a little girl that was maybe like 11, 10 years old, and she was singing all the songs.
Now,
Like,
speak to that a little bit, because the importance of young people being exposed to this opportunity to dance, to sing, to make costumes, to learn how to do these
no, I
things
think
through these festivals.
it's just something that's supposed, as she said, the word indigenous to us. We are, as we dive deeper into culture, our cultural events, our cultural festivals, we get to realize we are people that have a lot of resilience, determination, and these things didn't just come about just so. These things came about through our ancestors, through what they went through. Okay, and we need to appreciate that these are what you call like the parts of our DNA that helps us continue to, as I said, continue life with life in. In other words, right? There's a phrase. And even with that transmission, you see the kids get a sense of identity. Because when I saw the young lady singing, I go like, that she has heard those songs before. Her parents sing those songs at home. Okay, so it's something that is passed down, and I'm saying like she hopefully will grow up to see that I have a true sense of who I am as a Saint Lucian, like what I like, what I don't like, or what makes my culture indigenous. As Oshun mentioned, the ancestry memory. And that was so interesting to see in a sort of like discovery type of like a type of way where you saw like the young people really involved. They join in the dance. They'll take a break too, right? But because it's a constant you going. Or you saw the parish priest come and he's singing a few songs. I go like, wow, okay, this is different. This is on another level. And
So
although
there's
I
a
saw,
sense of
yeah,
community too, yeah,
yeah,
and then
it was
yeah.
just it was different. It was different. Even the little games because one of my colleagues, she was going around in the circle as well, and she stole a sweet. And then the narrator, or the commentator, the person at the time that was basically guiding everything, stop and say, "Hey, no!" And someone needs to come and bail her out of jail because she stole something. And again, it's the playfulness, is the trying to get people to collaborate, get involved. And I find that was just epic. That was different to see on another level for the first time. Someone that has been to a seance, and I think it's something that all St. Lucians should try to gravitate to or try to see for themselves. Hopefully, we shall maybe see some of that at Derek Walcott Square, if possible, on the Friday. Stay hydrated, people, while you do so, because the sun is out, yes. But I think it's something that is so indigenous and it's so welcoming and so epic to see. And it's just something like that just goes to say a lot about who we are as a people, where we're going, and what our culture has so much content,
Right.
so much.
As you mentioned the content and some of the shifts there. I mean, you've had the flower festivals, La Was, La Margaret, but you're also seeing the rise of solo. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you feel about that, Oshun? I mean, is that helping or is that taking away? What is your, is it just a different vibe completely?
I think it's definitely us, We see, and to each his own, everybody would have their preference, and everybody would have what they gravitate to most. What's admirable about both the flower festivals and the solo has more African rhythm. With the flower festivals, what you see, as I mentioned a while ago, we mimic the dress code of our those who enslaved us. But if you listen to the rhythm, is strictly mostly African. And with the solo is the same thing. The solo lends back to telling stories, and in Africa there's this tribe, the Congoligans, and a lot of their dances are sensational, they're sexual, a lot of their lyrics, and while a lot of people oppose again based on their spiritual beliefs, it is said that in these dances they would evoke spirits of fertility and so on. And that's what our people believe in. And I don't think we should run away or shy away. So I'm actually happy to see the solo being kept in certain places. And to add to that, I would hope and wish to see the African dances being preserved because we see a lot of cordial groups, but I don't see many groups doing the court and the kutumba and the bele. And that's something I think too we should look at. I think we should try to do a
Right, and
cultural.
there are a few of those in places like Martinique, and
Yeah,
Guadeloupe that they actually have these
definitely.
dance festivals,
Yeah,
ballet festivals,
yeah.
Dominica.
We probably have only one or two groups doing the kutumba still, and what you find, I find all these things we should find a way to do a cultural roadmap because we talk a lot about knowing ourselves and our identity, and we don't understand that these simple things determine the state of our nation politically. Because if one has a true sense of patriotism, identity, because these things represent what we fought against, it is very easy to transition in our everyday life. So it's very important. I think the importance placed on it sometimes is not enough because why is probably because they don't understand. Where I see this thing going 30, 40 years from now, I don't think St. Lucia is ready for it, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting points you being made there. Just speak a little bit about the aspect that these festivals are different. How different are they? Sometimes people, characterize La Wars as the more vivacious, the more boisterous type of, event versus the Margarets and the calmer. We can use this word nowadays. The more demure, the more
We had
mindful.
that same conversation
Oh,
outside.
I wasn't listening to you guys, but that's very interesting,
You
right? I
know,
mean, speak to that difference,
you
though.
know, well, based on how the flower festivals are, you have 6 months Larus, 6 months Margaret. So by right, I am a Margaret by birth.
Mm,
But in spirit, I'm a Laos, and it's probably because of where I was brought up. To Monaco never had a Margaret group. Um, with La Rose, I find them a little more rebellious.
mm.
I find the Margaret a little aristocratish, you know. And so as I say, to each his own. And if you look at the way that the composure, that is true. In the Laros you find some people that can be difficult. And again, when we talk about rebellion, it's both good and bad.
Mm.
Because some people can rebel just for rebellion's sake, whereas some people did rebel for something good and noble. So yeah, the two, that's the differences I see. With La Rose, I find, well, what they would say this, they would say that La Rose is the ferocious ones. They're the ones
Mhm,
that talk. The
mhm.
Margaret is more.
And
Yes,
in our
I
current
agree.
society, you
I'll
find more
dance to
people
the.
are heading towards Lawas.
I will
Is,
dance.
is is La Margaret suffering?
No, I wouldn't say that, because in our society, the beautiful thing about Saint Lucian society is you have a mix.
The
And
duality of it.
yeah, I mean,
Conservatives and liberals.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I think, and that is beautiful. I mean, both of them have what stands out, because there are times, in your day to day life, if we look at them and take examples, there are times you have to stand up for something and rebel. There are times you have to fight. There are times you have to quarrel and be what they call ferocious, although you're not, but that's the word used. And there are times you have to be that,
Mm.
and to preserve things for your future, to secure things for coming
Mhm.
generations. And there are times you have to say, okay, I agree,
Time to make peace.
and
Time to
sit
be calm
down,
and
and
Stoic.
live a
yeah.
soft life and
Yeah.
be
Although,
demure and
although
mindful.
I wouldn't say I would, although Margaret is calm, I wouldn't say that they lack the roro. They probably
Mm.
just a little more diplomatic.
Okay. All right.
they,
All
they, they,
right.
mo- they're more sensible in how they throw the picong. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. So, of course, we only have a couple of minutes left, though. But the program for the rest of the week, coming down to Friday itself.
Yeah. So definitely, things are happening. We're putting things in motion. I said we had some stakeholder engagements just this morning. We have others to happen this week. But Friday at 10 a.m., the Minor Basilica of the Immaculate Conception Castries, we're going to have a church service. And then we're going to have the coronation of two queens and a king. Okay. Followed
Why
by,
only one king?
hey, hey, hey,
That's
hey, hey,
interesting.
hey,
Okay.
I'm not going
One
there.
of the queens traveled, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So after the coronation, we're going to have the parade of the Laros groups through the city of Castries. That
Mm.
is from the Minor Basilica, going down Miku Street. That's going through, passing by the central, Castries Central
Library.
Library. You
Okay.
take a right on Bridge Street.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you take a right into the William Peter Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take another right. And then
Onto
you head
Library
back up
Street.
Library Street. And then you end at Derrick Walcott Square. So that parade will begin at 12 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And at 1:30, hopefully it takes an hour and a half to parade and dance and
Mm-hmm.
sing and then
Mm-hmm.
see that uh,
Might take a little
that,
longer.
that river of red
Mm-hmm.
or pink, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have the cultural performances at the Derrick Walcott Square from 1:30, where each group will have a chance to do their performances on stage. Of course, there will be the whole Laros energy will vibe on the square.
Mm-hmm.
And come, if you're in the public service, if you work in the private sector, you're in the business, Please support, encourage your staff to wear red for the day.
Or pink.
It's,
Or
it's
pink.
it's the last working day of the month,
Well,
right? So you
yeah,
might be able to escape a
yeah,
little bit. Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
then you
yeah.
come and you celebrate. And if you take any photos of you at La Rose, of course, tag the CDF, tag the Ministry of Tourism, and come and support our indigenous culture, because La Rose and La Marguerite, well, not talking so much about La Marguerite because La Rose as a focus, they're the two indigenous flower festivals we have in St. Lucia, and they're intangible culture, and they're important to us. So come out and support. And of course, we'll be streaming live on our platforms. So if you do not live in St. Lucia, unfortunately, but you may be from the UK, from the US, Texas, or Manchester, or maybe you in Taiwan, maybe the Taiwanese students, if you you can actually pitch in and view the
Okay, so it'll be live
proceedings. It
streamed,
will be live streamed
everything.
from
Okay.
10 a.m.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We're looking forward to that. I'll be there for sure. I had a blast last year in Grizzly, and so I hope a lot of people actually come out and have a look and have a good time and enjoy that. And of course, thank you so very much, Ryan and Yanet, for coming out and sharing with us. All that's happening this coming Friday. It is Fête La Rose, the Feast of Saint Rose de Lima, August the 30th from 10 o'clock at the Minor Basilica of the Immaculate Conception, the church service, and then the parade, and then the Grand Fête
The Guafet
is happening at Derek Walcott Square. Thank you so very much for that.
You can drive down to Monaco for it's Friday.
Okay. Well, you see, there's an after party. There's
after party.
if
Now
I was.
now I'll tell you about the after party.
Well, you're
Wow.
finding out now.
Okay,
If you know, you know. Thank you so very much. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And of course, it's all about ensuring that we're celebrating our culture. And so we do hope that you do that this coming Friday. That's all the time we have today here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Hope you have a good one. Take care.